Be my guest, be my guest, be my guest with Sean Boy Joe. Be my guest, be my guest, be my guest with Sean Boy Joe.
Hello, my dear friends. Welcome back to the Be My Guest podcast channel with me, your boy, Sean Boy Joe. Now, before I introduce my guest, you know what you need to do. If you are new to this channel, then click the subscribe button. The notification bell will update you on everything that I do. And if you're feeling extra generous, go over to the Facebook page and give us a cheeky little like there too. Now, on to my guest, who is a renowned and award-winning actor, musician, writer. It's endless, isn't it? Today, we are joined by the wonderful Keith Warwick. Welcome, Keith.
Hi there, how are you?
Yeah, very good. It's a pleasure to be talking to you. Finally, we were going to do this, and now we are back here, finally doing it. So, like I do with all of my guests, and of course, we will come on to your glittering career, but I want to talk about the early stages of your life. So, tell me a little bit about young or a wee Keith growing up. How did you get into this business of show business?
Really, by accident, I guess. I was when I was in high school, I joined a theatre company called STG, which was Strathclyde Theatre Group, and I think I was the youngest there. And I started doing plays and stuff. I wasn't really particularly interested in the plays that they were doing at school. Uh, no disrespect to Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, but it wasn't really what I was interested in.
Mm-hmm.
So when with Strathclyde Theatre Group, it was a bit different in that I think my first play was Government Inspector by a Russian writer called Gogol, and so even at a really early age, there was more of a sort of not take yourself seriously, but there was certainly more of a sort of cerebral aspect to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that, and I was also gigging. I was out earning money as a musician when I was 15.
Wow.
So, and the people that I hung about with were generally older than me, about 5 years older than me. And so I was in bands with them, and that I think that when you're a teenager and the people that you're hanging out with are in their that are 20 or in their early 20s, there is a sort of economy of experience, and I didn't really have that much experience, so they were a wee bit baffled as to why this child was bossing them about
Mm-hmm.
and saying, no, I think we should play this song and I think we should play this gig and all the rest of it. So because I was involved with people who were a bit older than me, it kind of took me into into venues that I probably I wouldn't have been allowed into if I
No,
had
right.
no ID. So from there, I was in various bands. I've been very fortunate actually, the bands that I've worked with, and I've worked with lots of famous and not so famous musicians,
Mm-hmm.
and so did all that. And then when I was in my early 20s, I saw an advert for the Australian Doors and thought, what's all this about?
Mm-hmm.
And I got in touch with a friend of mine who's a promoter, and he told me there's this thing called tribute bands and all that. So I put together the Scottish Sex Pistols,
Yeah.
really in defiance of the Australian Doors. I just kind of thought, what would be the sort of funniest thing? I didn't really want to take me seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted a more sort of uh, acting performance based band. So I picked the Sex Pistols,
Yeah.
and so I I was I played John like Johhny Rotten,
Hmm.
who went on to, you know. So strangely enough, I've started doing that again. I've no idea how I get through the gigs when I was younger because they are knackering nowadays.
Yeah.
So I think we've got in March. I think I don't know the venue names. I just know that there'll be one in Manchester, one in Sheffield, I think, one in Wolverhampton, and one in London. I think the London one's the 100 Club. I'm not sure, but that'll be sometime in
Yeah.
March. And there'll be other gigs.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I did that, and then I left the Scottish Pistols and joined a theatre company, and I got an agent, and from there, I think my first TV was The Bill,
Oh, right.
which was a sort of police-based. Um, you wouldn't call it a soap, but
Yeah.
yeah, sort of police-based drama.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I did lots and lots and lots of theatre, and then I did a soap in Scotland called High Road, where I played a
Oh,
horrible
yes.
horrible wee Cockney git,
Uh-huh.
um, which I really enjoyed doing actually because I've never worked on multicam before,
Right.
so it really gave me uh, a, a really good grounding on how to work with cameras,
Hmm.
cheating and stuff, because you got to hit marks and stuff. So that sort of thing. It was for me. It was an exercise in the technicalities. I did a really good movie called Schemers, where I got to play a guy called Andy Lothian, who was the guy that brought the Beatles to Scotland, and I enjoyed that immensely.
Hmm.
The last film I did was called The Last Bus with Timothy Spall, and I again I don't think there was a day where I stepped over the door frame and I didn't
Hmm.
think, lucky boy,
Yeah.
because I think that if I'm really, really honest with myself, it's the first time I've really applied myself.
Hmm.
'Cause I enjoy education, and so this was brilliant for me. So
Hmm.
I'm a master, uh,
You are. You've got a master's
and
degree in classical and contemporary, haven't you?
yeah, classical. Yeah, I've done a lot of classical theatre actually.
Yeah.
Classical theatre like Shakespeare, for example, or the Greeks, for example,
Yeah.
and contemporary theatres like Chekhov, which I love, whom I love, and Ibsen and stuff like that.
Hmm.
I've also done a lot of commercial theatre, lots of pantos and lots of other stuff, where it's not, you know, it's it doesn't have that cerebral edge. It's more populist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Therefore, you get paid more money for
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
it. I've written plays and they've been successful, and I'm at the point where I'm just finishing off my first novel, which is
Halfway
called.
to Paris.
Yeah, well, the title's changed now. It's halfway to everywhere.
Oh, right. Okay.
Because so many there are so many points now. There
Yeah.
are so many places on.
Yeah.
So yeah, halfway to everywhere, and I I like it.
Yeah.
It's the type of thing I would read actually. So it's kind of sort of semi biographical.
Right.
It's quite. If I were to try and describe it, um,
Yeah. Tell us about it.
it's a coming of age.
Right.
Yeah, and Christian F meets Gregory's girl. So that's about it. I teach as well.
Yeah.
So you've got. I'm up to here with
Yeah.
where I
I
am
can
in my
see.
life.
I mean, you've
Oh,
answered
and I'm
all
a
my
dad.
questions in 10 minutes, so that's good.
I'm really sorry. Well, you did say what you've been doing.
Of course, yeah. Every note I've put down, I'm thinking, oh, yes, he's answered that. He's answered that. So let's go back slightly a little bit so we can go into more depth in a few of the things that you've actually done. You mentioned that you starred in The Bill, and that was one of your first programs, mainstream. I remember reading up there was a part that you played on a BBC series called Knowing the Score.
Oh yeah, that was a long time ago.
Right.
And yeah, I would think, yeah, that would have been my first. I can't remember actually. But The Bill was certainly the one that I was the guest, like the central
Yeah.
character that's not one of the main that's not one
Right.
of the
Okay.
regular. So I really enjoyed that. In fact, I got really pally with a guy called Eric Richards, who played Sergeant Cryer, and we'd go for a drink after work and all that sort of stuff. And we were talking about music, and he said, "What kind of music do you like?" And at that point, I mean, my music preferences change a lot, but
Yeah.
at that point, I was really into sort of British R&B. So you're looking at the Kinks' first album, for example, which
Yeah.
is almost mirrors the Clash
Yeah.
in some ways. Um, First time I heard 1977 by the Clash, which is the flip side of White Riot, I thought it was the Kinks. However,
Right. Okay.
so I would talk to him, we'd talk about the Kinks and the Who and all the rest of it. And there was another actor in the bill called Billy Murray, who was in a film called McVicker
Right.
with Roger Daltrey. And the Who happened to be playing Hyde Park. They were doing Quadrophenia in Hyde Park, and I was asked if I wanted to go along as on the guest list, and I was like, "Yes, please."
Right.
So I was sitting about 4 seats away from Billy Connolly and Prince Charles, and then we
Incredible.
went backstage, and it was just amazing. It was just like I was introduced to uh, Daltrey and Entwistle and
Right.
Pete Townsend. It was wonderful for me, and I met lots of people, Phil Daniels, and it was just amazing. I can remember queuing up at the bar backstage and saying, "Excuse me," to someone, and it turned around and it was Trevor McDonald, the newsreader, and I was thinking, "What the
Goodness.
hell's he doing here?" But
Yeah.
he was on stage. He was doing, and today mods and rockers have been fighting on the beach in Brighton and all the rest of it. And
Yeah.
Stephen Fry was working behind the bar, and because he was playing, I think the maitre d' and for the bellboy segment. So I got to meet lots of people. My balls were popping out of my head, I must
Yes, I'm
say.
sure.
I mean, I generally I'm quite good when it comes to meeting musicians and actors because I kind of understand the parameters
Well, you're
of
in that world, aren't you?
the
Really?
the job that you do.
Yeah.
I only really get weak kneed around football players.
Right. Okay. I
I
see.
really do.
Yeah.
And I was doing a play recently at there's a venue, the Armadillo in Glasgow. I don't know, about 4,000 capacity, something like that.
Mm.
And I was doing a play called Celtic the Musical, in which it's a co-production with Ulterior Media, an English company, and Celtic FC. So it means the Celtic FC give us our uh, ambassadors, club ambassadors, but really they're club legends, and I'm a Celtic supporter, so I got to meet like a whole host of heroes for
Mm.
me. So my knees were going the entire
I can
time. It was
imagine that.
absolutely
Yeah.
anyway, just to have guys like there's a Celtic player called Tom Boyd, he was the captain of the club. He got something like 70 odd caps for Scotland, and
Mm.
he's a big deal. And I'd be leaving the venue after the show, and he'd be going, Keith, and I'd turn around and go, "Hi, Tom Boyd." They go,
Yeah.
"I'll be back in Tuesday. I'll see you then, Keith." And I'm going, "Okay, Tom Boyd." So I'm not very good
Yeah.
at that kind of thing. However, I and that was a show that sometimes with commercial theatre, you're not overly proud of it.
Yeah. Mm.
But I think it's a really good show, and I was very very proud to be attached to that because it
Good.
kind of married all my loves: performance, music, and football.
Yeah. Well, we all have our heroes. We're only human, even though we all are in this business. We all have our heroes. So yeah, I'm pleased to see you went weak at the knees at some point. That's very good. So you brushed past rather abruptly when you were talking earlier about the fact that you made the Scottish Sex Pistols. I mean, how
Yes.
incredible must have that been to actually work with John Lynham as well?
John, yeah. Oh, look, I mean, for me, that again, I kind of went about it in a way that was rather than just um, doing the songs. For me, it was about, again, this is going to sound a bit take itself seriously, but it was
Mm.
about embodiment of the character for
Yeah,
me. It was so, and it still is. You know, it's they get to see, or as closely as you possibly can, and because John's, um, you know, he's got that sibilance, that Fins, not in Finsbury Park. He's got that sort of, and he's also got that S&T thing going on. So that's great for you know, being able to clutch on to the
of
character.
course. Yeah, you
You
can
know, so
manipulate
when
that
he was
character.
younger,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, when he was younger, it was like that sort of Dickensian street urchin.
hmm,
And it was, oh, this is in trees, and oh dear, this is horrible. A height is, oh, this is tedious, and all the rest of it. And so that's quite fun to do. And
yeah,
of course, when he's got older, which is a character I don't, he becomes a bit more rambunctious and hello everybody, it's Uncle John here. And there's compartments to his life as there are with everyone's life.
yes,
And
of
I like
course.
to do my research,
Yeah, of
you know.
course.
So if I'm doing, uh, let me think, Count de Guise and Massacre at Paris by Christopher Marlowe, I'm away doing my homework on these
Yeah,
people. It's not often I get to play a true madman. So when I get a chance to do proper research on real people, I really enjoy it.
yeah,
However, I also enjoy building a character up from the boots. I
right.
find that I mean, uh, with Trent it was not easy, but it wasn't difficult either because one, I kind of thought about what I was like when I was that age, which was, you know, I wanted to be taken seriously, despite the fact I was clueless.
Hmm,
So putting these things, just, you know, getting the physicality of that character as well, and also like I would build a playlist in my head that would be like every time he saw Mel in his periphery vision, he would hear "There She Goes" by the La's
hmm,
or "Every Me, Every You" by Placebo. So I would build up wee bits of and it was that sort of thing, that playlist part wasn't necessary for the Brian and Sophie characters because they were so heightened that
right.
it didn't make any sense. But certainly for the relationship between Trent and Mel, it was more appropriate, I think.
Yeah. So go on then. Tell me, how did you get that role as Trent? Of course, it was an award-winning series, wasn't it? Ran for so many years.
Oh yeah, it was a cracking series. It was great to do, I must say. How did I get the part? I auditioned, basically.
Right.
Uh, I think Scottish actors at that point were quite popular. We were the
Mhm.
sun-dried tomatoes of the drama world, and so maybe getting in a. You remember when I was doing the audition that because I'd never seen a show, so when I was doing the script, I wasn't looking for gags. I wasn't looking for or even a setup for a gag. I just read it straight,
Mhm.
and they kind of liked that because it became more of a believable foil
Yeah.
for Mel, rather than, you know, they've got all this sort of comedy that they need. And saying that, you know, they were, you know, Trent did have his moments,
Mhm.
um, but they were all sort of accidentally funny as opposed to I'm I'm
A
building
funny
a gag.
character. Yeah.
So yeah, it was Mel. Danny. I just adored. I still do. She's just a terrific person, and I've got a lot of
Yeah.
time for her.
You had a,
And of
a
course, Tony.
very good relationship on screen with her, didn't you?
Yeah, God knows how that happened.
Mhm.
No, Danny and I go on well. I like there's and in an industry sometimes that can be quite superficial. She's got a healthy amount of sincerity, which I really
Right.
appreciate and
Yeah.
still do.
Yeah. Yeah. That series in particular, you were talking about the difference in the complex of characters, and your character wasn't necessarily a character that was written or made to be funny, but you kind of found the funny bits in him. Um, Most of the characters in that series were either created, because primarily it was a children's sitcom, but there were lots of serious storylines in there because it focused mainly on the children's welfare system and being in the care system.
Yeah. So what I mean, really, Andy Watts who wrote it, it was clever to do. I mean, basically, what it was that the parents were the kids, and the kids were not so much the adults, but the kids were the ones with experience of their environment. So, I mean, episodes like there was one I got a few complaints. Crime and Punishment. So they're having to because at one point Brad was crucifying Sophie in the living room as part of the punishment angle. And just thought, I mean, lots of stuff. I mean, there was lots of really good stories in there. And of course, for me, the team of people that we were working with, Bernard Krzyzewski, the producer, really excellent. I mean, the whole, uh, there was no black in the palette as well. So the whole design was really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, if there was any black in the palette, it was deliberate for something specific.
Hmm.
So that kind of thing, if you're interested in the art department, design and stuff, Jamie Lockhead, who did the SFX, he was special effects director, absolutely brilliant. And I think for a show and the budget that it had, it was good. It was very popular. It was great
And for
fun.
its time as well. Yeah. Yeah.
And I,
I think it's one of those shows where you look back and say, well, actually, that's the British trying to do an American show very successfully.
yeah, I think you're bang on. I think that's absolutely spot on. Um, there were, I mean, a lot of my memories. In fact, I would say about 80% of my memories of My Parents Are Alens are not about the actual shoots.
Right.
You know, it's about the interaction between the people that you're working with and the time and going out for a drink and going to clubs because we filmed it in Leeds. So I think I did 6 series.
Right.
Um, I don't know how many episodes, 80, something like that,
Oh,
80 odd.
yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
I was there. I was in Leeds, so we would start. It would be like a 6 month shoot. So um, I was lived in Leeds for about 3.5 years,
Mm.
and I just remember loads of good clubs, the Wardrobe and the Cockpit, and just
Yeah.
running about having a great time.
Yeah.
There was, I mean, the minute that you finish work, you'd
Yeah.
go out. There was a pub at the end of the road called the Highland. I can remember getting in there actually one time, and then there was a wee man just sitting having a half pint and a whiskey,
Mhm.
and nobody gave him a second glance, and I'm looking at him going, "That's Freddie Jones. That's the Freddie Jones." And I went over and I spoke to him. Now this guy was in like the Elephant Man and stuff like that.
Yeah.
His son is Toby Jones, who's extremely successful.
Right.
Did a brilliant Truman Capote, in fact. Uh, However, I was sitting there, I was talking to him, and I said, "Would it be okay if I could ask you a couple of questions?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I said, "Do you have any advice for a young actor?" And he was like, "It's the little things. It's the details that matter. It's not the big stuff, you know. So
Mm.
think about it." And I always took that on board,
Yeah.
and I was always very grateful to him. Whenever I get a chance to, I once had a right old good night with the woman Jean Alexander who played Hilda Ogden
All
in
right.
Coronation. I think she was in doing an episode of Heartbeat, which was also filmed there. And I
Right.
had a right old night with Hilda. It was great.
Oh, okay. Which you didn't expect. Yeah.
No, 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 no. I was
Yeah.
at that point. That was the first series that I did,
Right.
and I was in a Holiday Inn at the time as opposed to having
I
a
see.
flat.
Yeah.
But I've been again. I keep saying, how lucky I am. I
Right.
mean, with people in Aliens, it's not just about the people that are on the screen. Sue Smith did an amazing job as the wardrobe mistress.
Right.
She's
Yeah.
very, very good, particularly with Danny and I. Because we'd go shopping and I'd be saying things like, I think Trent would, he's going for a sort of moddy angle, but with a sort of punky edge. And I
Yeah.
think he would like a pair of, he wouldn't want a pair of baseball boots for this series. He'd want a pair of, I don't know, like bowling shoes or something like
Mm.
something from sort of that sort of the sort of second generation of mods like the
Uh-huh.
Secret Fair and stuff like that. So yeah, so she was very, very good with me. In fact, I got her to knit crochet Trent's school tie.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they had a different type of tie. So
Yeah.
there's all sorts of good details
Yeah.
in there. And
Yeah.
there's lots and lots and lots of good cast members, and
Yeah.
the entire production was very good. But as I say, the majority of my memories
But it was lovely to see you grow up
are,
on there as well as all the characters, because we saw them from very young, and then by the time
yeah,
they all fled the nest, they were teenagers.
hmm
It's
yeah, it
very
was
rare to
great.
see in kids television.
Alex used to come into my dressing room because I'd have a guitar in my dressing room,
Yeah.
and I'd teach him songs. We used to sit in his dressing room, various with guitars, because you spend a lot of time just hanging about.
Yeah. And he's
Uh,
a good musician now, isn't he?
he's very good.
Yeah.
I can't take all the credit, of course. No,
Right.
that is very
Yeah.
good. He's very, and I've seen him. He was doing a thing that the Buddy Holly story, or the Buddy Holly and the
Right.
Cricketers or something.
Yeah.
And I went to go and see him. He was on tour a few times, and I saw him twice. I took my wee girl along.
Hmm.
And I thought I was a wee bit not concerned, but surprised that Clyde was kind of slightly starstruck with
Yeah.
Alec. And I'm going, why are you never starstruck with me? Because
Yes.
you're a
Yeah. Because you're daddy and I live with you.
because you're a pain in the bum.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, yeah, no, Alex, you used to sit in the dressing rooms and bang out Ramones songs and stuff. You know what I
Right.
mean? The KK took my baby away, and
Yeah.
Blitzkrieg Bop and stuff like that, and all that
Yeah.
was very helpful. I would get him, like I go, you should listen to this band and you should try this band out, and
Mhm.
Ellie Adam and the Ants, Dirk wears white socks, much better than the other stuff, and all that. So he kind of latched on to that. I don't mean latch on in a sort of clingy way.
No,
I
right.
mean he latched, yeah, in that he was going, yeah, this is great. Give me
Yeah, he took
more.
it all on board. Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a really good guy. And
Yeah.
all that. I mean, but
Well, I remember him in the comedy series 2.4 Children way before My Parents Are Aliens.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so
No,
he was in that way before. Yeah. Um, Talk to me about what it was like playing well, essentially yourself as a Scottish person for many years, then having to reveal that you were no longer Scottish.
yeah. No, I can't believe that actually. I can't say I was overly enamoured with
No, it
that
was a bit
episode
surreal. It didn't
because
seem
I
quite
quite
right.
like.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying a book or anything, but I just thought it was a bit of a. I just thought it just shot off in an angle. It's that I
Yeah.
thought,
Hmm.
why, why are we doing this? Anyway, yes. So, that was got to do all that.
Yeah.
That was fine. There was
Yeah.
I tell you one thing, right, that I remember. I was I was at Globe Theatre, and I
Hmm.
was I was skint, right? And I remember walking back to my digs over the Millennium Bridge towards St Paul's Cathedral on a cold night, and I got a call from my agent to say that some money had went into my account,
Yeah.
and it was an outtake of My Parents Are Aliens, which was on It'll Be All Right in the Night, which is a
Oh.
compilation
Yeah. Yeah.
of things that go wrong, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it was me swearing like a trooper,
Oh.
and it was because we'd done a shot where it's on a dolly, so it's like we tracks that go
Yeah.
up the camera. that, and it comes in for a, it'll come in and basically, let me think here. So yeah,
Yeah.
so it'll be kinda coming in like that, or the other way around actually. So and I did a wee banger, whatever. So you're timing that. So the first one, I think there's a boom mic come into shot, right? So scrap that. Something else would be some other, a lighting, somebody to come out and bang the lights. The gate wasn't right or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I done it right. I done it right. I done it right. And one of the things that you're aware of, well, certainly that I'm aware of in acting, is the fact that this costs a lot of money, and you have to be prepared. You have to know your stuff.
Hmm.
And so we were doing the shot finally, and I made an absolute arse of this thing that I was meant to do, and of course I just started shouting and bawling at my guitar, and they, I think they just kind of went, "Oh, children's television, you don't expect to hear swearing."
No.
Instead of a crazy Scottish guy
Right.
calling his guitar all sorts of things under the sun, but we got it in the next take. However,
Yeah.
the wee fee that I got for that
Yeah.
saved me
Well, thank
when I
God there
was
was no
down.
children actually in the audience. It was all canned with the laughter.
We didn't shoot in front of an audience.
No.
Anyway, I know
Although
that
it had
there
that
was a
feel to it.
laughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a laughter track added. Uh, uh, I don't know, from series 5 or 6,
Right.
I think. Which I didn't think it needed that, but
No.
anyway, yeah. So no, we did. We fortunately we didn't have an audience. It's hard
Mhm.
enough just doing it in front, because you've
Yeah.
got to remember the studio that we shot it in. I think it was Studio One at Yorkshire Television. It's big. It's a big,
Mhm.
massive studio, and there's
Mhm.
loads and loads of people who work on these productions. So again, it's do your homework and
Yeah.
get it right. And
Yeah,
sometimes
absolutely.
it's great when you get it wrong, because you
Yeah.
feel like you've let them down.
Not far from my hometown lives a certain actress that you know very well, Barbara, who I often pass through and wave as she walks past in my little town. What was it like working with Barbara as the original Sophie?
I love Barbara. She is brilliant. She
Hmm.
is a lot of the time with Barbara. Well, Babs. A lot of the time with
Hmm.
Babs, it was
Hmm.
off the set. She was pretty quiet and kept herself to herself. On the set, I thought she was good. She was very generous as an actor. She was brilliant with me.
Hmm.
I enjoyed working with her very much, and she was a real good laugh. I haven't seen her for a long time. I know that she was um, back for the last episode that the the cast did,
Yes,
and she came back for that, and it was just magic to
for the
see her. I
last
haven't
of
seen
the
her.
original cast. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it was goodbye and thanks for all the earthworm custard or something like that. It was
Yeah.
called.
Right.
The reason I know that is
Yeah.
not because I save up the
No.
names the episodes, but just basically because I kept the front sheet of my script and got
Oh
everyone to sign
wow.
it. I need
Brilliant.
to find it somewhere.
Brilliant. Wow.
Yeah,
She brought a
and there was
very
also
different Sophie. Well, you say different, it was the original, but very different take on Sophie, more of an innocent Sophie. Whereas later down the line, when Carla took over, we sort of saw a more Sophie that wanted to be a mother rather than just somebody who was an alien.
yeah, yeah. And I think it needed that. I think it
Mhm.
needed that sort of that there has to. I think for anything to have longevity,
Mhm.
there has to be the character has to evolve.
Right.
And I think that Sophie's character uh, and the way that Carla played it as well, there was a gear change, and
Yeah.
it helped to open up other avenues of storytelling.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. So towards the end of that run, we found out, of course, well, you found out as the characters that they were aliens. What was that like, actually finding out as the characters after all those years, having to pretend that you just don't know?
Right, I am good. I'm sure I've got it on DVD somewhere.
Yeah,
I will
well, you
have to
have.
have a look.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
haven't watched it in many It's funny, I can remember sitting with my wee girl. We were staying in a house on top of a cliff
Right.
on the west coast of Scotland. Excuse me. So sometimes this is after after I finished the Aliens and all that. So sometimes I could get some TV channels, sometimes I couldn't.
Right.
So one day my wee girl was sitting in between my legs, and I'm sort of flipping through, and I'm looking for babies for her.
Right.
She was 28 at the time. So what she was doing, I'm looking right. So she was about 3, I think. So I'm flipping through the channel, and it came up CITV, and I thought, oh God, I've not seen that for a while. And it was Aliens that was on. So I
Yeah.
played it, and there was Trent going, "Hi, Mel," and all that sort of stuff. And I said to my wee girl Clyde, "Do you know who that is?" And she said, "Dad." And I was like,
Oh,
"That's
wow.
right." She just kind of dealt with that. So
That's
when she's
incredible.
watching,
What a moment for you, really.
I was just thinking this is really weird. So
Yeah.
so when she sees a character, it's like, "Can I talk to Josh?" I'm like, yeah. So I phone up Alex,
Yeah.
talk to Clint, and "Can I talk to Brian?" And so she's
Yeah.
going through all the rest of it. And at the end of the show, she said, "Can I talk to him?" And it was Trent, and I said, "But that's Dad."
I
And
see. It
she went, "Yeah, but
didn't
I want
quite link.
I don't want to talk to Dad. I want to talk to Trent." And I was going, "Yeah, I'd like to talk to Trent as well. However, that's not possible." There's
No.
an episode actually where Brian smashed up Trent's guitar,
Oh, I
and
remember.
of
Yeah.
course, my wee girl would she would see me leaving the house with a guitar to go and
Right.
do a gig, and then come back and put my guitar down and all that. And it's always, when Daddy comes back and he's been paid, there's sweeties and wee treats and stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, she watches Brian smash the hell out of Trent's guitar, and she get very upset. And I was like,
Um,
okay. So I phoned Tony, and Tony I think he was doing Halifax at the time. So he was like, "Hey, I'm having lunch with Derek Jacobi." I was like,
oh,
"Mate,
okay.
I really don't,
Sorry
I
to
don't care.
disturb you. Yeah.
Better tell Clyde that." So the conversation, from what I could hear, was that Tony was saying things like, "Well, I can fix it," and Clyde's crying, going, "No, you can't." And he says, "No, no, I'll get your dad a new guitar." So he's very good. He's very good of him.
Yeah.
I wish he'd passed to Derek Jacobi so that we could have just had some ninky nonk chat,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's all the appropriate age group.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think for a while my wee girl thought that everybody's dad was on the telly. Um,
That's an incredible
but
story.
then now, I mean, she's seen me. I mean, she's 14 now, so she's seen me on stage, and
Hmm.
she's. In fact, I've had her on stage with me, and
Right.
Our mum's a performer as well. Our mum's a really, really good violinist and
Okay.
singer, extremely talented. And Clyde's her house, she's got pianos, and her house is massive.
Yeah.
Pianos and guitars, and she plays the cello and stuff, and
Hmm.
she's pretty good. I'm sort of trying to steer her away from, you know, so when she was younger, people go, "Oh, Keith, she's got stardust in her eyes." I'm saying, "No, she doesn't. She's going to be a vet."
Yeah. That's
I
it.
mean,
A proper normal job that pays a good
unless you
wage.
want to, I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
making money in the arts is, or surviving in the
Hmm.
arts is difficult, you know,
As a jobbing
unless
actor.
you're willing. Yeah, unless you're willing to go through the bins for your lunch,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? An absolute
Yeah.
dedication. But a lot of the time, it's luck. Because, I
Mm.
mean, like, my audition for Aliens wasn't that they'd went, "Let's put a search out for a Scottish actor." Because they hadn't seen any Scottish actors.
No.
It was that the, two of the directors that they had in for that series had worked with me and said, "Oh, you should see this guy, Keith Warwick." And so that was luck.
You're just in
And
the right place at the right time.
yeah, so that was luck, and it also meant that I still had a wee bit of a job to do regarding what to
Yeah.
do with that character.
Mm.
However, it's not like you luck. I mean, I know that people say that, but sometimes it's just you're just fortunate, you know.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
And because I know loads of different actors they've not had that bit of network TV or that film that could have, you know,
Made
changed
them, yeah.
everything for
Yeah.
them. But I know that they are studious and disciplined and very, very good.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes it's just your luck.
Yep, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And let's hope that your daughter can differentiate between you and Trent nowadays.
Yeah, listen, I think she'd still much rather hang out with Trent than me.
Well, Trent's rather cool to hang out with. He's got all the girls around him. I mean, that brings me on to a question that I was going to ask you before. What would Trent's love life had been like after Mel left? Wasn't the same, was it?
No, it wasn't. Also, I mean, I don't know if this is overly appropriate because I don't know what your audience demographic
Yeah,
is.
go ahead.
Um, However, when I was putting Trent together, the Trent and Mel thing was, yes, he adored her, but at the same time, Trent hadn't made up his mind about his sexuality.
Right.
So, because there was lots of things in there that, you know, and I thought Trent was actually quite camp a lot
Yeah.
of the time. I don't mean that in any kind of disparaging way.
No, no, no.
I mean I mean that really sincerely. That Trent was of an age where he wasn't sure. And I think that yes, when Mel went away, that it was a different
Dynamic.
absolutely, you're right there. A
Yeah.
different dynamic with myself and Steph
Right.
Sheeran, who's another terrific actor.
Yeah.
It's funny
And
that
singer. Brilliant singer.
I can remember everybody's name, but I can't remember what happens in the episode. Shame.
Yeah. No. No, brilliant.
Yeah, I mean that was just. I mean the thing was maybe the male character had maybe I don't know, but
Right.
my opinion would be that maybe Danny, because I haven't spoken to her about it, that Danny thought that that character had gone as far as it could. You know, this sort of
Mhm.
uh, uh, sort of tired and emotional kind of
Of
throwing
course.
strops and being confused and being wise and all that. I mean, she
Yeah.
had lots of angles to that.
And
I thought
as
she,
an actor or an actress, you want to kind of go on to explore and do other things rather than stay
yeah,
in
I
the
mean,
same role, I guess.
yes, I guess so. You know, I can remember I was going out with an American girl, rather fetching American girl, a while back, and I was getting a flight to I can't remember, and My Parents Are Alens was on the flight,
Oh,
and I just I decided not to watch it. I watched The Martian instead.
right.
If it
Okay.
gives you an idea what it was, and it's not that I don't. It's not that I don't like um, My Parents Are Aliens. I think it's terrific.
Mhm.
Uh, it's
You just
I
don't
just
particularly
don't
want to watch
like.
yourself.
No, exactly. You know
Right.
what I mean? You
Yeah.
know, I'm my own biggest critic as it is.
I
The
see.
last thing I want to do is think, you know,
And you do want people to
why
turn around after and say, actually, I have had a very successful music career, and I've done the Globe, which you have done. You've done Shakespeare's Globe. What was it like working in such a historic environment?
well, it was very cold, let me tell you,
Right.
because you know it's open air. I can remember doing. I think I was doing some sort of Elizabethan dance workshop
Right.
on this, and I could hear the bells of St Paul's ringing, and you know, just peeling away and echoing off the Thames and all the rest of it. It was just lovely,
Yeah.
and the snow falling down on us, and I just, if you've ever tried Elizabethan dancing, you'll know how punishing it is on your shins. So you
Right.
throw in some snow onto that, and it's
Uh, I'm not
well,
one bit envious.
it can
Not
be
at all.
hazardous.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, listen, all that sort of stuff. And the Globe's education department is absolutely stunning, absolutely stunning. You know, so if you're ever if you're doing if you get a chance to if you're doing hires or advanced hires or a BA involves some form of Shakespearean literature. If you can get a chance, and in fact, maybe write to them or whatever, and get access to their archives and library, it will make your life a lot easier. Although in saying that, for me, it was the more and more I found out about Shakespeare, the more I realised I knew nothing. So it's there is something just. I mean, this idea of genius. Mozart, genius.
Yeah.
Shakespeare, genius.
Yeah.
Just that, I mean, it's so difficult to, you can't quantify it with just going, well, he was very good and this made sense. There are so many elements to it. It's just stunning. It's just, it's complicated.
Yeah. Theatre is a very different world to TV, I guess. You get an instant spontaneous reaction from an audience when you're on stage. What do you kind of prefer to do? Do you like the TV stuff or do you prefer the stage?
It's funny. When I'm doing television, I wish I was doing stage.
Right.
Because it's more visceral. And
Yeah.
when I'm doing stage, I wish I was doing television.
Oh, okay. Right.
That's fun. And it's the same when I'm as a musician, when I'm on tours. Touring can be really tiring, So
Yeah.
when I'm touring, I kind of wish I'm in the studio recording. And when I'm in the studio recording, I'm so bored. I wish I was actually just out hammering hell out the guitar.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm never happy. The grass is always greener.
That's it.
But again, I think that if you have the tools that you build up to have an amount of versatility in the arts, not only will it, well, not only will you get more money, but it gives you more options and um, more fissures of creativity to go down and
Yeah.
expand yourself. And
Yeah.
it's that's what it's all about, really. I mean, I couldn't be in a series that lasts, where I was playing the same character for 15 years or whatever.
Yeah. He says, having been in one. Yeah.
No, I think you're right, actually. Yeah, it was about 6 years with Aliens. And
Yeah.
I was a couple of years with High Road. And saying that, to be in something continuously, like a soap that's just like continuous, where you're understand why actors do it, because it's paying the rent, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You,
Of course it
you,
is. It's a
there are choices
steady. It's a
you can
steady
make.
job.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can remember saying to my dad years ago, I don't do adverts. And he was like, why? And I says, well, I didn't get into this business to sell pot noodles or insurance.
Yeah.
And he said, Keith, you're not David Bowie. Son. You know what I mean? Just go and take the
Like I don't
money,
want to sell
get
double
the,
glazing windows.
so yeah, I mean, in saying that, I have done 2 adverts, but both, and this is me trying to, I don't know,
Yeah.
fly the flag for my own conscience, but both of them are for the NHS.
Oh, right.
However,
Okay.
if Pot Noodle are watching and they need somebody to punt any of their products, I'm your man. I love them.
All right. Yeah. Oh, you're not putting them down. Yeah. You're here and ready to do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, I guess there's a difference between what you evolve as a performer. There's a difference between me as in my 20s than there is now. Because you evolve and grow and you learn,
Yeah.
and hopefully learn from your mistakes.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Well, as we come towards the end of our chat, and it's been a great, insightful chat. You mentioned earlier about panto, and I talked to a lot of panto people on this channel. What's your experience of panto? You seem to like panto. You've done over 10 of them.
Yeah, I think, yeah, God, yeah. I think my first panto was at the King's Theatre in Glasgow, and it was a massive one, and I was playing Aladdin. So when you're playing, for me, when you're playing Principal Boy, it's not as much fun as the sort of Love Me I'm Innocent character, like
Right.
Wishy Washy
Yeah.
or Buttons, for
Is that the
example.
character you usually play?
Yeah, I do. I kind of play that, heart of gold, brain of stone
Right.
kind of character.
Yeah.
And I do like that. There's more interaction with the audience,
Mhm.
and there's more versatility within these characters as opposed to
Mhm.
playing, enter Aladdin, uh, being chased by the palace guards, enter
Yeah.
Aladdin, leaping
Yeah.
between the flames. You're just constantly being chased,
Right. Yeah.
or being in love. Whereas when you're
Right.
playing those other characters, the characters, you really that you're more in touch with the audience and you know taking them on the adventure with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I've been very fortunate. Again, I worked a lot with Anthony Jones and Dougie Squires
Mhm.
at Trends, and they were absolutely brilliant. I really really enjoyed working with them,
Mhm.
and I've been all over the place. Um, I can remember one time I was up in Inverness doing, but I think Alex came up to that one, and Tony definitely came to one in air. Tony and Alex, I think, came to one in air at the Air Gaiety, which was very kind of them.
Mhm.
And yeah, we just all have a good laugh. I mean, that's the thing. The thing about
That's
Panto
good.
is that we really got about for such a long run, and a technical thing, because you've got you've got things flying in all the time. You've
Yeah.
got set changes. It's all right. It's causey changes all the time. Um, you've got a really tight rehearsal period. You know, 2 weeks, 2.5
Mhm.
max, for then a 2 month run.
Yeah.
Or a month and a half run. So you have to be fit. It's demanding. Theatre's very demanding physically, I find.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. But it's very rewarding because going to see a panto is like something you can do with all the family. It's universal. So I think it's something that here in Britain we do, and we do it very well. So I can imagine
Yeah.
you're Hook playing Captain Hook one day.
Oh well, I would love that. I mean, the
Yeah,
thing is that panto is one of those things. It's for most people, not everybody, but for most people, it's the first time they go to a theatre.
yeah,
Time they go and see a show, and if it's done properly, it can be absolutely spellbinding. The Citizens
absolutely.
Theatre in Glasgow
Even if
used
it
to
goes
do a
wrong,
brilliant
we
panto
still find it funny.
where
Yeah.
dialogue has slipped my memory,
Uh-huh.
and I've had to turn around to the audience and say I've forgotten what I meant to say here, and everybody
Yeah.
laughed. But
Well, it's the only show where
uh,
you can make a hash of it and get away with it, I guess.
very much, yeah,
Yeah.
that, and I mean, pantomime is, it's vaudeville, it's variety,
Yeah.
because you're getting all you're getting all this music, comedy, pathos. You're getting all these elements wrapped into it with different types of performers, and it,
Mhm.
it even harks back to um, Italian commedia dell'arte. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think if you listen, I approach most all my jobs actually that
Yeah.
with you know uh, with a proper amount of professionalism.
Yeah.
And panto, the reason it's still going is because when it's done well, it's brilliant to
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah.
It's, and it's even better to be in.
Yeah, yeah. As an audience member, it's lovely going to a panto, knowing the story, knowing what you're going to get, almost sitting there thinking, I know the next gag or I know what they're going to do next, but getting something completely different because each cast brings their own unique spin to the production.
Yeah, well, I can remember one time it was a pal of mine at a theatre, and I was doing this thing where you get everybody to do a sing song at the end,
Yeah,
and it was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And I was doing you split the audience in half, and you get them to be louder than them, and all that sort of stuff. and I got them, and rather than doing ting ting walla walla bing bang or whatever,
Yeah.
uh, I got them to sing Hi Ho to the tune of uh, Blitzkrieg Bop by the Ramones.
Ah,
So
bonker.
it was hi ho, let's go. There's a guy, one of the lighting guys, was just going,
Yeah.
"It's the best. It's the best I've seen." And
Yeah.
it's partly because one, it's rather than you don't have to learn any words. So
No.
really, it's just a singing competition. But also
Yeah.
for me, I'm a Ramon fan,
Yeah.
so there was a wee bit, there was a
Yeah.
smidgen of mystery in the mix with me
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. You've got the leeway to do so much with panto. You're not restricted in any way at all, and that's brilliant. And I'm hoping there'll be many, many more pantos for you in the future. Talk about the future and what you're up to now. You spoke a little bit when you were telling me before that you've got a new book out. Tell us about the book and
Well,
when it's going to be finally released.
the book's not it's not finished yet,
Uh,
so I am looking to uh I mean, regarding getting a publisher and all that, I mean, I'm hoping that that's going to be sorted out this year.
mhm.
And when I get any news, I'll send you a text
Oh,
and
yeah.
let you know. We can do a follow up or whatever if you wish.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you mentioned earlier about the book being semi autobiographical, auto, auto, that word that I can't pronounce.
So, but
Autobiographic. That's the one. That's what I was thinking. It was coming out somewhere from the wrong end.
so, oh yeah, right. Well, it's about when I was 15,
Hmm.
and I ran away from home when I was still on holiday, and I was in Paris, and so it moves about from Paris to Amsterdam to La Rochelle, Glasgow, New
Hmm.
York, and it's a 9 month period of my life. Now, as I say, it's semi biographical because if it were biographical, I would have to go to prison. So there are lots of things in there that are
Yeah.
very naughty. Uh,
Well, you wouldn't get
I think,
people's permission for a start, I guess, with all your stories.
yeah, I think that's the thing with all of my stories. I actually have to sort of protect the innocent. So we'll see how we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
I've I've been very fortunate to uh, recently to be doing one to one teaching with um, kids who have and young adults who some of them have trauma issues,
Right.
some of them are non-verbal and stuff. So it's a specific thing that I'm getting to do. It's not I don't go in with a format and go, right, okay, we're going to do this.
Hmm.
So it has to be it's bespoke in that it's something that is relevant to those people. So that is um hugely, hugely enjoyable for me. That I get a real buzz
And
out of that.
rewarding, I guess, as well. Yeah.
Yeah, to see progression
Yeah.
and just to because I don't do it on a like an exam basis. At the end of
Right.
it, you
Right.
get a paper that says you've got an NVQ2 in community
Hmm.
drama or whatever. It's more about it's more about having fun and sort of putting the education aspect of it under the radar.
Hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've enjoyed that. But really, there's the things in the mix, as I say, the Scottish Pistols are out gigging. I
Yeah.
also have another feature coming up in the summer, um, and I get to play a right horrible git in that.
Ooh,
So
there we go.
I'll be
We'll look
digging.
forward to
Yeah, I think this one will be an 18. Anywho,
that.
so yeah, I mean, there's stuff, but really it's as an actor, and if anybody's want to do that or he's a writer or whatever,
Mhm.
is trying, trying versatility is important. So the the more disciplines that you can get to a level that's where you're employable, the better it's going to be for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alternatively, don't listen to me. You know, I could be talking utter rubbish.
Well,
It's just what. But I've combined it with academia as well.
mhm,
So
yeah. Well, I think they'll be silly not to listen to you. And what we do want is them to listen to this podcast and watch it too, which has been fantastic. Now, before we end, as I do with all guests, would you like a little reminiscence down memory lane? I'm sure our listeners will. So please give us an insight as to what a little wee Keith Warwick was watching on the box. We know what your daughter was watching. She was watching you, thinking that's daddy playing someone else and not realizing. So what were you watching when you were younger?
oh well, I think it was back then that it was you know really we're talking television wasn't about back then.
Right.
You know, it was just basically a zoetrope, you know, and they just spun that and shadow puppets
Oh, yeah.
and oh yes, there was no television or film way back when I was a youth. I was too busy out there. I was too busy
Yeah.
running about the banks of the Clyde, eating mud
Yeah.
and trying not to get into fights. What did I like? The things I liked. Okay, I liked Red Dwarf very much.
Yeah.
I like more sort of recently. Well, it's not that recent. It's about 10 years old, maybe. Is The Thick of It. I really like that.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I liked when I was a kid. I liked Red Dwarf a lot. I just thought it was really funny. I kind of
Hmm.
like those. I like the Rimmer character. I've always kind of liked those characters that are kind of like selfish. I like Rimmer. I like Rick from the character in The Young Ones. I like
Hmm.
Daffy Duck regarding cartoons. And these characters are all they're all kind of self-absorbed,
Yeah.
and it's not saying that I am.
No.
I'm more critical of myself than anything.
Hmm.
Uh, but I do like to watch stuff
It's
like
just
that.
nice to watch. Yeah, absolutely. Well,
And
thank you,
today,
Keith. It's
yes, my
it,
pleasure, man.
it's been
Pleasure.
absolutely wonderful to talk to you, and we've had so many requests for so long to have some people from My Parents Are Alens on the channel, and you have fulfilled that for me. You were the first, and hopefully not the last. So thank you, Keith. It's been wonderful. You have been my guest on the Be My Guest podcast channel. You certainly have been a blast from the past in a podcast, and you have been everything I've wanted and out of this world. So thank you, Keith.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Keith. I will speak to you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.